All right, so again, welcome to today's live Q&A. We're going to start things off with our first question of the day. My buyer wants to see my contract with my seller. Should I show it to him? All right, so when you're wholesaling, is going to be one of two primary ways that you're doing your deals. Either going to be an assignment of contract, meaning you have an agreement to purchase a property with a seller, and your end buyer is going to be taking over that contract. So we'll talk about that next. The other way is going to be a double closing, where you you typically will borrow some money, transactional funding. You'll purchase the property, you'll actually own it, and then you will resell it. So let's start with the double closing. In the scenario where you're doing a double closing, you do not need to show your contract to your end buyer, because you will have a separate purchase and sales agreement that will be outlining all of the different contingencies, the inspection period, which should be a 0-day inspection period, by the way, your closing date, your earnest money deposit, all of those contingencies will be on your contract. Also, what you are paying the seller for the property won't be shown during that transaction, during that B2C closing. So in that scenario, you should not and do not need to show your contract. Now, where this gets a little bit more important is if you are assigning the contract, because whatever you've agreed to in the original purchase and sales agreement is what your buyer is essentially agreeing to as well. So any smart, intelligent investor will need to see that information to know if they agree to it. Like, what if you wrote in there, for example, I'm going to buy this property with all open permits. That could be all open violations, all open liens. That could potentially be hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then surprises come up at the closing table. A smart investor is not going to agree to that. So yes, they will need to see the contract. However, they really just need to know the terms and the contingencies. They do not need to know things like your purchase price, your inspection period. And the reason for that is because they could use that information against you, either to try and negotiate. If they know how much you're making, they can try and negotiate a lower price. They can also do things like look at when your inspection period has ended, and that is one way they can try to cut you out of a deal. They can say, okay, this guy only has 3 days to sell the property, so if he doesn't sell in those 3 days, I'll put in a backup offer and I can get the property for cheaper. And they may even, again, if you show them the whole contract, they'll know what you're paying. So that's one way for you to get cut out. So the solution for this is, yes, you can show them the contract. However, you should redact or cross out the information that's not pertinent to them. So basically, if you're saying to your end buyer, hey, you and I have agreed that you're going to pay me $150,000 for this property, that you're going to pay $150 for this for this deal, then you're in an ideal world, they shouldn't care what you're making. But unfortunately, not all buyers think like that. So what you can do is you can show them the contract and all of the contingencies, what you've agreed to, and your closing date, but you do not need to show them your purchase price, and you do not need to show them your how many inspection days you have. So you can just block that out, cross it off, exit off, black it out. You could either do it like take a picture of it and just cover it, put a pencil over it, or you can do it digitally, just black that information out. And that's going to be the best way to go about making the best of both worlds, where again, you are not showing the contingencies, but you are showing the contingencies, but you're not showing things like your purchase price that can expose you to additional risk. Okay.